forgiveness in murder would be a possibility. I can't even say I've reached that place in my forgiveness journey, in my spiritual journey, in my consciousness, my mindfulness journey. I can't say that I've arrived at a place where, the murder of my brother, that I could forgive. Here's what I do know. I know that is a place that I'm living to be able to be at. That is a peace that passes all understanding. And I think that there would be nothing more, there would be no greater paradise in my mind than a kind of peace that would allow you to forgive, A lot of us are holding on to rancor and hurt and anger and lack of forgiveness, and it's destroying you. It's destroying you. Even the mere thought of forgiving, even the mere thought of someone else forgiving someone makes you sick. And I think we got to check ourselves like that. Was this case, now listen, don't get me wrong. I think that, there's a couple of things to note. The judge in this case had just been, if I'm not mistaken, she had just been endorsed by the local police union. So that is a thing. Listen, I think that it is important for us to know that the system is working exactly as it should, as it was designed to work. A young man was late for jury duty and was given 10 days in jail. Come on. He overslept. Boom. You know what I mean? So I think that we are at a place in U.S. history and government where it may be time to press our politicians to rethink what our country was founded on. I think that we might be at that place. Come on, you guys. We are pressing our politicians for likes. And don't look at me with that side eye. We are more concerned with the fact that our president is a xenophobe, a homophobe, and a racist. Listen, that's fine. But I'm more concerned as a politician. I don't give a fuck about his faith. I don't care about his, I care that his social opinions affect his social policies. Yes, I do. Okay. But if this were a case, well, I guess, listen, I understand. I think that if it were a case where he had social policies that were different than his personal policies, I think that I would feel differently about Donald Trump as a president. But I think that it's okay for us to challenge our politicians to give us what we need as a community and not give a fuck if they like us. It's okay. We don't need them in our community. We just need them to come up off the laws enough to give us what we need to be sufficient in our communities. That's it. And I think it's time that we challenge our politicians towards that. Oh, God, you guys, rest in peace to a legend, a absolute positive legend, Diahann Carroll, who passed away. Now, I'm not sure what Diahann Carroll passed away from. I just know that she did pass away. I believe that she was in her early 80s, if I'm not mistaken, which I had a really interesting conversation with someone about age and just perspective on age. And is 80 old? What's old? I believe that is the average age in America still like mid to late 80s. Is that still it? Because if in fact it is, right? I'm 40, so I am midlife at this point, right? Almost. So I guess I would be considered at the point of being old from a chronological standpoint. Now, I know that has nothing to do with physicality or mental and or emotional state of being. And I know how strong the mind is over the body. So, a chronological labeling of being old doesn't bother me. But at any rate, rest in peace to Diane Carroll, the actress well known for her iconic role as the nurse Julia, single mother to her beautiful boy Corey, was definitely a trailblazer at that time that show was out. She was playing the role of a non-stereotypical African-American woman who was self-sufficient and professional. Get it, girl. She was a nurse. And then her iconic role as Dominique Devereaux on the Aaron Spelling produced nighttime soap opera drama Dynasty of the early 80s. She played the first black female villainess, Dominique Devereaux. That's right, honey. Ooh. And also, she was Whitley Gilbert's mother, so another iconic role. So, I have a question for you guys. Really quick question, because we're always in the mess. So, I finally got an opportunity to catch up on Basketball Wives this week, right? First of all, shout out to Evelyn Lasagna, because, girl, you were still out here patting your pum-pum like a mad woman. Did y'all see that? Jesus, Jiminy Christmas. And, shout out to Shawnee O'Neal for being a master puppeteer here. And I hope you girls are really getting money for all of this, because, girl, so much was happening. First of all, so the ladies were, I believe, on a trip somewhere. I wasn't paying attention, but I was paying attention. Long story short, a verbal altercation ensues between OG and Evelyn. And OG brings up the fact that, Chad was in her DMs, and, Evelyn goes back to Chad, and she produces some receipts of DMs of, Chad being like, oh, girl, please, and not answering. But then OG pulls up these different receipts, bitch, with Chad actually texting her. So, okay. This all then boils, because it's always about some stupid ass fucking nigga. So then, no disrespect to Chad, because Chad is still fine, but girl, bye. But at any rate, so then the story gets a little crazy, because OG, in the process of all of this, pulls out of her bag of tricks that Evelyn just wants to be black, and Chad wanted a real black woman, and that Evelyn is a racist, and she, is around when Evelyn is saying the word nigga. And, it conjured up something in me. How do you guys feel about non-black people using the word nigga? Are you okay with other people of color using it? And in all contexts, are you okay with it? So I am watching a clip of State of the Culture, and this is a conversation that comes up in the discussion. And Remy is basically saying that, as far as she knows, Fat Joe has had the most black asses experience, and it's okay for him to say nigga, because nigga, he's more nigga than a nigga is a nigga, right? And one of the co-hosts says, well, she understands that, and she could understand how he can maneuver through that space, but someone like Jennifer Lopez, she questions her usage of the word nigga, because Jennifer has the ability and has used her non-ethnic features, her adjacency in terms of physicality, her adjacency to European looking. She has used that to pass. and has starred in roles as white women, Italian white women at the most ethnic, in several movies that she's been in. So at any rate, the co-host then says, listen, that in her opinion, that is why she doesn't feel like it's okay for Jennifer to say the word nigga. So I thought about it some more, and I mean, honestly, I really am interested in knowing in what context, first of all, I don't think it's for anybody, for one individual to decide for the entire state of Black culture, no pun intended, that it would be okay or not okay to use the word nigga if you are not a person of color. I think that if you are hanging out with gay men and they pop the word faggot out of their mouth, you know what I'm saying? And they're talking to one another, and that happens, you have to know that just because that's cool with them, that does not give you the right to, and I don't care if you were raised by a gaggle of drag queens. I don't care if you were raised by RuPaul and his entire drag race. I just don't believe that it gives you the right to be able to say, hey, this is what it is or this is what it isn't, and I'm going to use that word, and it's okay for me to use that word because I've been let into a space where that's okay. So that's just my personal opinion. So what say you? Who do you give the authority to say that kind of off the cuff shit? Like, I don't know. I feel like if I were somewhere and I were to hear Jennifer Lopez say the word nigga, I definitely would be taken aback. Like, wow, okay. Like, okay, Jen. But I wouldn't be surprised if I heard Fat Joe say it. I wouldn't be like ultra moved by it. But listen, to each his own, honey. To each his own. Have you guys heard of the designer Kerby Jean? I'm sure you guys have heard of the African American label Pyer Moss. Kerby Jean is the designer and director of the label. And there was a fete, a gay fete, if you will, for the Business of Fashion 500 list, which Kerby was named to be a part of. Well, needless to say, one thing led to another at this event. I believe there was a gospel choir intended to usher in the crowd as they came in. Now, founder of Business of Fashion, Imran Ahmed, who not only personally named Kerby to the BOF 500 list, but also apparently had been having conversations with Kerby leading up to the BOF 500 gala, about Kerby's involvement in politics and just kind of his viewpoints and his viewpoints on racial diversity in fashion, and him wanting to change that and wanting to change the perspective. If you recall, Lena Waithe wore an original Pyer Moss outfit, and I could be saying this wrong. I think it's Pyer Moss, but I'm not sure. But at any rate, Lena Waithe wore it to the Metropolitan Museum of the Costume Gala. The suit that Lena Waithe wore was a